expecting a few more. They may be, okay. So I call to order the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission for Thursday, June 6, 2024, 7 p.m. meeting. And Ruth, we can do the roll call.
Supervisor Galloway,
Here.
Supervisor Pruitt,
Here.
Supervisor O'Brien, Mr. Smith, Supervisor Goolsby,
Here.
Mr. Higgins,
Present.
Supervisor Barlow,
Yeah.
Supervisor Woodward,
Here.
Supervisor Reed,
Here.
Supervisor Rutherford, Commissioner Duranzio,
Here.
Counselor Payne. You have a quorum.
And we do not have any voting members participating in electronics, so we can pass that. And we do have an introduction this evening, and is our, Ruth, you hearing that or is Christine?
I'll take it. So our new regional planner too, Sarah Simba, is with us tonight. We mentioned that she was hired at the last commission meeting, but she was able to join us today because last time was her second day and it's not a good time to visit you guys. But she is working on transportation projects and specifically the Safe Streets and Roads for All. So you will see her at top of events and in-person meetings.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Let's see, number 2, matters from the public. I do not see anybody online or in the room. Is there anybody here wishing to give public comment? We can close public comment. We're hearing them. Nothing provided by email or online. So that will take us right to our presentations. So we're starting to have the feel of a quick one.
You had to say it.
I always feel good saying it.
Not that one.
Even the closed meeting.
Trying to hit that one. Okay. I think it's working. Yes. All right. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Lori Jean Talloon. For those of you who don't know me yet, I am the Regional Housing and Community Development Grants Manager. And so I'm here to talk to you tonight about the annual action plan. Primarily for us, it's regarding home. Oh, thank you. The City of Charlottesville receives, they're an entitlement locality that receives CDBG funds. And so that's why it has the combination there. So home, if you are not familiar with it, is a HUD funded formula grant program. We comprise a consortium. All of the regions, all of the localities in the TJPD region are part of it, and we receive yearly funds, and we have for quite a while. We're heading into what they call program year 2024, which starts on July 1st this year. The total funding that we are receiving is $651,000, which has decreased by $134,000 since last year. So we're kind of imagining that we're seeing pre-COVID numbers at the moment. So this is then broken out. 10% comes to TJPDC staffing for administration of the funding. 15% is broken out into something called CHODO, which is kind of special projects that are looking to expand affordable housing. And that rotates location by location over the course of 6 years. And the remainder is broken out evenly amongst the 6 localities. So it may be a little bit tight to see up there, but each locality will be receiving about $83,000. The CHODO will go to Louisa this year, and that's another $88,000 basically. And then TJPDC receives $65,000 to administer. This year's plan is year 2 of our 5-year consolidated plan. So that is something that you can see online. That one wasn't in your packet, but the year-long plan is in your packet. We did a ton of consultation to prepare that 5-year plan and got a lot of guidance and focus points that I'll talk about briefly, just so that you know that that's kind of the container for this year's plan. During the consolidated plan process, we found that the most common housing problems are cost burden, meaning people are paying 30 to 50% of their income every month on housing. Oh, so a lot of people, I don't have the exact number in front of me. I can get that too if you need it. It's also in the annual plan. There's a lack of affordable rentals. We found a lot of folks finding that the housing that seems affordable often is substandard. And then a lot of accessibility concerns, both for aging folks as well as folks with disabilities. The populations, oh, and just so you know, this is part of what we consider then when we make our plan as far as how we're going to choose which things we're doing. So you'll find that in a lot of the counties, there's a big focus on aging and disabled populations, a big focus on improving affordable housing. So a lot of rehabilitation is happening. And of course, trying to help people with cost burden. And you'll see that in the coming years, we're trying to develop a fair amount of affordable rental units, which takes quite a bit of money. So it's a limited number that we can do with this chunk. So the populations we found that were disproportionately affected by the housing crisis, and just over time in our region, those below 50% of AMI, of course, renters more than householders, homeowners, households with children, populations with special needs, as I mentioned before, Black and African American households in particular were disproportionately affected, and formerly incarcerated individuals and their families. In years so far, we've definitely seen a focus on special needs populations. We've got a really good ratio of who we're serving when it comes to race and making sure we're trying to balance that out. But a lot of it is really just about who comes to us, and it's kind of been happening naturally. There's not necessarily a preference given, but just I think it's being kept in mind as services are provided. As I said, Louisa is receiving the CHOTA rotation this year, so they got about twice as much money this year as everybody else. A fair amount of that is going to, the folks in Louisa probably are pretty familiar with what's happening with the Housing Foundation and their development of the units near their building. And then this is just kind of an overview of the three main goals of the 5-year plan. So expanding the affordable housing stock, so that's producing units, preserving the existing supply, so rehabilitating units, and then ensuring that housing is accessible by providing additional payment assistance for down payments or rentals. Not a lot of rental assistance happening yet, but it in Charlottesville, in the city of Charlottesville, there is a plan to do that. This is this year's planned activities. So you can see the chart there. I won't read it to you, but it's just kind of, this is what everybody has committed to achieve for this year. It's pretty ambitious. Part of it, I know it looks like small numbers, but when you think about how much housing costs, it makes sense. So it is quite ambitious. But we're hopeful, and we work closely with the nonprofits who are doing this work as we develop this plan. So final slide, the timeline for this. You guys are my last stop. So if you resolve to approve this tonight, then we will be submitting it to HUD pretty soon. We did not get any public comment from the 30-day public comment period, but I know our partners at the City of Charlottesville, a lot of staff gave additional notes, so we'll be merging those in. I think it's just like little tweaks here and there before we submit it. Any questions?
Questions? Yeah, Ernie?
Just some clarity, can you go back to the last slide, please?
Yes.
The last column, DPA slash.
Oh, I apologize. I did not explain that. So that's down payment assistance or rental assistance.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Are any of those the down payment assistance, rental assistance things? I know outside of Charlottesville, all of them have to be down payment assistance, right? Because
Yes.
Charlottesville's the only one.
Mhm.
So is that going directly into the Charlottesville? I know the acronym SISRAT, but I can never remember what it stands for. I don't think I realized.
Not that I know of yet. My understanding is that it's most likely going to go to a nonprofit who will then distribute it.
Okay.
I don't have
got the results on that. I shared that test.
Great. Thank you. Yes.
So no, Sister App is just the housing authority, and that is straight up city financing. That doesn't come from anywhere else. And then the down payment assistance, actually, some of it did end up going to the couple of inaugural programs at the housing authority on the CDBG side.
I ask because, as much as I care about what's going on in Charlottesville, I'm asking selfishly, trying to figure out if that could have been, like cancer.
good, with SysMap, the origins of it, and I'm patient zero for that, and we concocted that. That is straight up city funding in one block from the city coffers. And it's 945 this year, something like that.
Yeah, and at least initially it wasn't also basically surplus money that the housing authority itself had.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just city funding.
It's just city funding.
To expand vouchers if you want.
Exactly, and that it was done to close the gap between the housing authorities' authority to manage vouchers against the delta of what they actually had to manage on the federal side. And you just decided was had us also standing there with the ability to fund vouchers, or ability to manage vouchers, we'll fund them some vouchers.
I appreciate that. I guess my question is.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell too long on it. I want to make sure I'm correctly understanding the strings that come with home. That it sounds like a program like SISRAP could be funded through home funding.
Technically,
I was just pulling them out as an example and thinking that maybe some of those $8 were going to. It sounds like they're not, but it sounds like they could, or a
Technically.
comparably designed program.
yes. So in 2001, the agreement that was signed amongst the consortium, each locality, each of the counties chose a nonprofit subrecipient to kind of represent them moving forward. So at the moment, and I don't know, I mean, I guess that could be changed, but at the moment, so since 2001, AHIP has been the sole subrecipient for Albemarle County. The city of Charlottesville is the only one who every year selects their own variety of subrecipients based on their current standards. So that's why Albemarle only has homeowner rehabs, because that's what AHIP does. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, there is a sort of problematic problem with funding vouchers at home, which is once you funded a voucher for someone's rental, next year you got to fund somebody's rental, somebody's voucher for rental.
Earmarking percent.
Yeah, you're essentially committing a future budget to it or throwing people out, so.
Unless you can roll them on to it.
Right.
And this funding is variable.
Yeah, this funding is so variable that we actually made all our decisions before we had numbers this year. And we had to go back and sorry about that.
Can I also ask a little bit about the history behind the CDHL alternating pattern? I get why we would arrive at that, but I'm curious how long you've been doing it and what if there were major political considerations that went into that.
It has been alternating for the history of our consortium. And there are political considerations that went into that. One thing that would happen if you were to split the money for the charter evenly is that you don't have enough funds to do a project. So it's helpful to do that rotation for that reason, but it's also slow because there are 6 localities.
Yeah, if you look at these numbers, if you do 4 rehabs in a year, you've spent all your money. If you're working on 1 apartment unit, you've spent way more than the money that you have for that year. What we've seen in Greene County, Skyline Cap is the subrecipient there. They have pretty consistently over the past few years, just as soon as they get the money, they've been buying mostly mobile units and have been turning those into rentals. So each locality has kind of decided what fits best in that local kind of world. So, yeah.
To finish out where I was going with this,
Sorry.
and I'll shut it. I'm not saying this is how it should be done or even that this would make the best sense, but I know in Albemarle, we've been having a conversation about the way we structure our own housing fund allocations, and it's very much a matter of this is the program that's before us, so we give it money, right? And I would worry that maybe a rotating scheme makes it so that, well, we're the locality that has money this year. I'll put it towards something, even though it's not the best project I've had in the last 40 years, even though it's maybe not the best project that we have in the broader commission district. And I was just curious if maybe an alternate mechanism might become the based system, right, within the localities that we.
I do believe that when the Chodo was at Albemarle, few years ago, I think there was a RFP process.
Well, and I
for
can
the-
also speak to, and forgive me, there's a little bit of a delay on my end. This is Christine online, but to your point, Supervisor Pruitt, there have been instances in the past where when the Chodo jurisdiction comes up, they don't necessarily have either a shovel-ready project or something that is pressing. And so they have skipped their rotation, and then the next year it comes back to them by default before going to the next jurisdiction. So there are opportunities to bypass your year if it is not, you know, something that you have a project in mind. So it's, while we do in every jurisdiction rotation, there have been a lot of situations in the past where there are exceptions to that depending on the need.
To piggyback on that, you can also get into a little bit of difficulty if you've got the money and haven't spent it properly. At a certain point, it becomes attentive, and then concerned, and then perturbed, and then they start talking about seizing funds from your bank account. So, we in the city, we got ahead of that curve, but there were funds that had not been spent in the program. We actually ended up shelling out some money at the end of last year, just to make sure that we had done that right.
The one thing I'll add to that is that, once this funding has been allocated to us, we do have 2 years within which to commit it, which just means selecting the project and then basically reporting it to HUD and kind of making it official. And then once it has been committed, you have 4 years to complete the project.
Any questions? The planned activities, do they know? So they, well, yeah, they wouldn't, because the planned activities happens, like in this case, Louisa, they knew they were the Chodo recipients.
Yeah.
So their numbers reflect that extra money.
Yes.
So it's not the planned activity, just the non-Chodo funds, it's both the normal funds plus the Chodo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they know the rotation, so they're planning years in advance often. Thank you.
Right, thank you. We're going to, like, we have a public hearing,
Yes, for the legal action plan.
and there's a resolution in the packet.
It is.
All right, so we will open the public hearing. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak or online? So we will close the public hearing and move to the resolution.
Staff recommends a motion to adopt the 2024-2025 Code CDBG annual action plan.
So I will say, all right, motion is made by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Duranzo. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great, thank you. That will take us to the consent agenda. In there, we have the minutes of the May 2nd meeting and the May 2nd closed session. Any issues or edits or corrections that need to be made to either of those sets? I think so. Great, we'll do that separate from the financial reports. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the May 2nd, 24 meeting and closed session? So moved. If Supervisor approve that one. Mr. Duranzo, you want a second? Sure. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And that will take us to the April financial reports. Ruth, your name's there. You want to comments on this one?
April was a strong financial month for the TJPDC. Our net income was $42,269. There's a total net income for fiscal year 24 of $378,588 to date. We have a rolling 12-month average operating expenses of $135,267. The actual operating expenses for April were a bit below that at $120,284. And the accrued revenue report shows that there's an average total available funds for the remaining 2 months of fiscal year 24 of $261,904, which is plenty to cover our revenue, or expenses for the rest of the fiscal year.
Any questions? All right, is there a motion to accept the April financial reports?
Make a motion.
And a second? Second. Thank you. All in favor, motion to pay properly seconded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Awesome, that will take us to number 5 and new business. And Christine, your name's on this, are you handling this one, or?
Yes.
This is the smart scale resolution of support memo.
Yes, this one is fairly administrative. The PDC is asked to have a resolution endorsing applications for smart scale. The Charlottesville Albemarle MPO, the governing board for that is the MPO, so they make a vote on those applications. The TJPDC serves as the governing board for the rural applications. And so included in your packet was a memo detailing descriptions of each of those projects that are being submitted with in the rural jurisdictions by the localities. And so we're just asking the PDC for support to endorse those applications. There are a total of 1 in Albemarle County that's outside of the MPO, 2 in Greene County, 3 in Louisa, and 2 in Nelson. So those are all detailed in your packet, just asking for a resolution of support. That's all.
Any questions here? All right, is there a motion to approve the resolution endorsing the submission of smart scale applications requesting transportation funding by the localities?
Second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. And this will take us to item 6, old business. The election of the TJPDC officers. The nominating committee recommended slate was presented at the last month's meeting. That recommendation was Supervisor O'Brien from Fluvanna to be chair, Councilor Payne from Charlottesville to be vice chair, Mr. Smith from Fluvanna to continue as treasurer, and Jacobs to continue as secretary. And there's, I guess if you're deck, then you'll have to just vote no. But otherwise, we could just do this as a slate. Is there a motion to elect? Or let's see, how do I say it? A motion to approve the nominating committee's recommended slate for officers for fiscal year 25.
I still recommend. Point of order. In general, you don't vote for yourself, I don't, so should we do it as a slate or separate? I don't care.
I don't know for yourself.
I just, pick one.
We can do it individually then. I will, Mr. Durant, are you okay with pulling that motion?
Sure, I think it's gonna work, so. Yeah, I just want to make sure we have a forum, yeah. For myself, at least, I wouldn't stand for the rest of the state, so.
All right, well, you want to put that motion back on there? That's a first. I've never done that. Take it off. And put it in.
Here it is, back.
That's exciting. All right, is there a second? Second. Very good. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Should have voted against yourself.
That would be good. I've seen people vote against themselves. Great. Fantastic. So that will. We have time? No, August will be our first. When the new team will come on board. So thank you all for stepping up to fill those positions. And great, that will take us to number 7 in the executive director's report. And Christine, you gonna go ahead and walk us through that one?
Yes. The first thing in the ED report is a staffing update. We do have a paid intern coming on board, or is now on board, actually, since the writing of this report, for a 10-week paid internship. He'll be supporting both the MPO's work as well as the multi-jurisdictional Move Safely Blue Ridge safe action report that we're doing. We also have another planner 2 starting June 17th. Mr. Keener, I'm hoping he'll be able to meet with you guys in the next commission meeting in August. He'll also be supporting both transportation programs as well as general planning initiatives. Included in the ED report is all of the stats on the VADI project. I will note that in May, I was able to present at the Rappahannock Electric Cooperative celebration of the first connections for REC in Greene County. That was a really nice event to be able to celebrate the progress that's happened in that project. Updates in transportation, we are full force into Safe Streets and Roads for All, the Move Safely Blue Ridge project. We have in-person meetings scheduled in all 6 jurisdictions. Those are detailed in the ED report, locations and times, as well as a survey, as well as a virtual meeting, a regional virtual meeting. And then TJPDC staff have been participating in a minimum of 2, sometimes up to 6 pop-up events in each jurisdiction to try to get community feedback and engagement in that project. So we're putting a lot of time and energy into making sure that we're listening to the community and where they see safety concerns for all users of roadways. Additionally, other updates are environmental, the hazard mitigation plan. You know, we have a 5-year mitigation plan with annual meetings of the working group that was held in May. It was a really good opportunity for us to talk with the state. The state is redoing their hazard mitigation plan and trying to do a better job of integrating local plans into the state plan. And so they had state reps in our meeting listening to all the local folks. And that was a really good opportunity for us to be feeding up to them the priorities in the region. And then other local planning support that we've been doing, I think I shared with you all last time, the town of Mineral asked us to support their comprehensive plan. The comp plan was recommended by the Planning Commission and will be before the council June 10th. And then the town of Mineral also reached out to us to help support their required lead service line inventory. That's something that we can do, the administrative side of that, helping them with their reporting and their invoicing and things like that. So we're going to support that. Other than that, happy to answer any other questions, but those are some highlights in the last 30 days or so.
Any questions? Awesome. Thank you, Christine. All right, well, then that takes us to our closed session. And would you mind reading that number 1 there?
I Supervisor Mike Pruitt move that the commission be convened to a closed session pursuant to the exemption found in section 2.2 tag 3711A1, the Code of Virginia, to discuss matters of employee performance of the executive director. Motion seconded by. Oh, you just gave me a thing. I read the motion seconded.
Is that you, Mr. Van? I heard the voice like that. Who is here, Mr. Durham? All right. Okay, the motion was made by Supervisor Pruitt, seconded by Councilor Payne. If we could call it a roll, please.
Supervisor Galloway,
Yes.
Supervisor Pruitt,
Yes.
Supervisor O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Smith is absent, Supervisor Goolsby,
Yes.
Mr. Higgins,
Yes.
Supervisor Barlow, Supervisor Woodward,
Yes.
Supervisor Reed,
Yes.
Supervisor Rutherford is absent, Commissioner Duranzio,
Yes.
Councilor Payne.
Yes. Great, thank you. And we'll just be a moment while we turn off the recording. And apparently there's 2 things to turn on, just as a reminder.
3 hours.
Right, go ahead with the motion, please.
I'd like to move that the commission exit closed session.
Second.
All right, you would please call the roll.
Supervisor Galloway,
Yes?
Supervisor Pruitt.
Aye.
Supervisor O'Brien.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith is absent. Supervisor Goolsby.
Yes.
Mr. Higgins.
Yeah.
Supervisor Barlow.
Yes.
Supervisor Woodward.
Yes.
Supervisor Reed.
Yes.
Supervisor Rutherford is absent. Commissioner Durantia
Yes.
and Councilor Kane.
Yes.
I might approve the commission certified the best, each member's knowledge only business. Only public business matters lawfully exempted from being required particular information that can have provided for the public.
Second. Then you call the roll, please.
Supervisor Galloway.
Yes?
Supervisor Pruitt.
Aye.
Supervisor O'Brien.
Aye.
Mr. Smith. Supervisor Goolsby.
Yes.
Mr. Higgins.
Aye.
Supervisor Barlow.
Yeah.
Supervisor Woodward.
Yes.
Supervisor Reed.
Yes.
Supervisor Rutherford. Commissioner Durantia.
Yes.
Councilor Kane.
Yes. Great, thank you. There are no actions to be taken coming out of the closed session. So that gets us to other business in the round table. And I'm just gonna start on the left. Supervisor O'Brien, start with Fluvanna.
So, not a lot of excitement, but, we've had another solar work session. Yeah, we had an initial solar work session. With basically somebody from, the industry presenting, talking about exciting agreements and what we might want to do regarding that. We had a citizens, say, that type committee come up and ask for time, speak, and if that was appropriate, but that's what the board voted for us at the time. So then I suggested we have, that meeting, it's basically what you might expect from a citizen to get something that's gonna happen in their backyard. So that's the way that meeting sort of went, and there was a lot of disinformation that was presented in that meeting. I thought it was a service to the public and to the board members and staff as well too. So for our third meeting, I didn't have a third meeting, we had a presentation from the Farm Bureau, the Dominion, Jones Tax Extension, and that sort of soil side. And a very, very productive meeting, very informative meeting, highlighted strengths and weaknesses, some of the challenges. I think that both the public and the staff came out of that with, not staff, but public staff and supervisors all came out of it a little bit smarter. We had formed a solar committee because one of the motions was made to move to just putting solar into industrial zone lands. And so the discussion was whether we should do that or not do that. The committee recommended that we don't do that, we create a solar district. We had tied that being close to the high power transmission lines. But after, having presentations being made and how you want to do that, we kind of discovered that maybe that wasn't the best way to do it. And comment was made that it would have been nice to have had all this information before we had this. We also had this during meeting with the planning commission as well too, since they're in the process. So that was a really great part of yesterday's activity. And I think that that's the most exciting for us today. We did have some vandalism that happened to, I'll bring this up just for the public, that happened in one of the neighborhoods of the lake that was related to your family there. So that's disturbing. And it's being investigated, of course, at the time. So that's not really quote unquote board business, but just that's about that.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins, pre-can. Very briefly, we got some good news this spring in Greene County. Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger arranged for the federal government to supply us with more than $800,000 in funding for our Greene County Park and improvements in training for our sheriff's office. On the state front, State Senator Bryce Reeves and Delegate Nick Freitas were able to persuade the General Assembly to forward $3 million to Greene County for improvements in water and sewer infrastructure We are most appreciative of those elected officials. Very good. Mr. Goldie?
Well, top of all, everybody adopted their physical budget, and that's pretty well. We got a couple different new businesses that are trying to come to the county. We signed a letter of intent for it's actually a marijuana manufacturing company to come in that does the TLCs and stuff like that. Move into the old technical building. So I haven't heard any more on that yet, but we did sign a letter of intent for them to pursue to get their license for it, which will probably be a good revenue for the county in general. Of course, you get the squawk about, the marijuana plant, but it's medical, you can't just walk in and cut off the street and stuff like that, so. Yeah, I think it'll actually be a good revenue for the county in general, because they said they can employ up to 100 people. For that, and then we got a debate now going on for a big winery in May 10, so. Wait and see how that's going to develop. Now, that's the biggest thing right now, is everybody's stopping in the county.
Traffic.
Yeah, traffic noise, it's the usual. But other than that, it's, the county's doing what it should be right now, hopefully, everything is improved and business wise, that's how you decrease the taxes in general, is to get more revenue coming in for business wise. That's what we're trying to do right now. Get some more development coming in on business wise, small business and stuff like that. That was going pretty good.
All right. Thank you. Very good. Louisa County, Mr. Barlow.
We've been behaving this. I think the only thing we had Monday night was contemplated dropping the solar caps and 3%, 2%. And that, the lengthy discussion, and decided to keep it at 3%. To the lighted from the solar drop back to the diamond. Anyway, it's been breaking along the state, like, this couple of maybe. All the 4%, it's the state's election. We don't know what that's gonna happen, but anyway, you get that already, it's.
First thing I'd like to explain was, our shirt are not county issues. Happened to be this one.
That's good.
I'm glad you. I just wanted to make a comment about, we had the smart scale on here tonight. One of the projects that was approved in Louisa, I guess 2 years ago, was a roundabout down next to Lake Anna at a terrible intersection. The traffic on 522 and 208 intersection, we call it down at Dickinson Store, had literally got to be a problem. And the project isn't due to be finished until January of 25, so this coming January. But the company was able to open the roundabout part the week before Memorial Day. And the comments from people have been unbelievably positive on how it moves traffic. There was a stop sign, 3-way intersection, the way it came to the 522. And I mean, I'm talking about mild backups of vehicles during the summer with boats and RVs and everything else that goes with it. So this stuff works. A lot of people laugh. I've been one of them in the past about roundabouts, but to do work. And I noticed that Albemarle, Charlottesville has in this year's that we approved tonight, the diverging diamond at I think this street interchange, which we all laughed about that at Zion Crossroads, first one in the area, but they work. So anyway, that's all.
I often say in front of my citizens in my district that I'd put a roundabout at every intersection if I could, just to slow people down. So if you don't like it, you need to vote my ass out.
They do.
I think there's only been one fatality.
Notice, in the report, I guess y'all also did it, we got, prior review on construction areas and stuff. I first noticed it, is it Greene or Madison where they're doing the R cuts on, 29, I think it was Madison first. But I noticed in the package tonight, there's some R cuts in, I think, for maybe Greene on 29. 17 in Brunswick County in North Carolina, it's become filled with these things. It takes out the left turns from side roads onto main roads. In that case down there, it's Selling Route 17. And they go either side of the intersection, 4 mile, 10 mile, whatever, and put U-turns in the median and stuff. So, and those work too. They're weird, but they work, and they keep those 2 crashes, intersections from happening. So,
Yeah, the famous New Jersey jug hands.
oh, yes, right.
Chesterfield's been using a lot. They have a lot of, with as much traffic as they got, they seem to work. I mean, that's.
Yeah, New Jersey, they don't jug hands.
Supervisor Reed, Nelson County?
Well, since you mentioned traffic, the results of a 151 corridor and speed study, looks like it really hasn't warranted, any movement to decrease the standing speed limit, but the approved roundabout at, Route 6 and 151, that's where construction is going to begin next year. And the one that, was mentioned in today's presentation at Albemarle 151 is 2 roundabouts, if they should, when they're completed, should do, as you mentioned, slow down the traffic on 151 and maybe, move some of the pass-through tractor trailer traffic back to 29 where it belongs. So, that's really good. Glad to report that. Solar is the other thing. Our planning commission is, next week going to see the first official presentation from Savion Solar for a 9 megawatt solar farm in South part of Nelson. That's going to be really interesting. I get to talk about it twice because I'm on the planning commission too, as well as the board. So, the model of, as much as I love solar energy, the model of building large scale solar farms to feed, AI projects in the rest of the county that already don't have the energy that they need to do all the ones that they've already approved. It seems like a road to destruction anyway I look at it, but that doesn't mean that solar projects aren't good. It just means that we got really bad models that we have to figure out something for in terms of data centers. None of which are in this county, of course. We have a proposal in Montebello for a new agriculture and forestry district, which I'm on that committee. I'm really excited about that, which will be the 3rd one that I've, been paying attention to since I've been on the board, where, the citizens have taken it upon themselves to make really clear statements about what they'd like to see in their neighborhoods in terms of future development or not. So that's a real positive thing, because it's, even though it's not a binding tool, it's one that very clearly fulfills, what we've just approved on a comprehensive plan, and also gives the citizens an opportunity to be really active in that process. And then finally, next Tuesday, we're probably it'll be the last chance we have to see if we can give the schools enough money to give everybody a 3% raise that everybody else in the county is going to get. Let's see what happens.
I'll be happy to forward you that. We did record that work session maybe this month. It was good. It was really, thank you. That very, very well balanced.
City of Charlottesville, Mr. Alger?
Well, to begin with, counterpoint to Louisa County, I will state affirmatively that Council Payne and I did definitely coordinate our outfits today. We did that with forethought. It is June, so things get a little sleepy. In the planning commission world, we are still learning. Or things have not yet in our new code far enough down the pipeline, and we have to come to grips with many of them. We are sort of watching the transition as older things under the older rules and newer rules, and folks are trying to figure out how to apply that. It is a sort of we don't know. We've had one thing crop up, which was a boneheaded error. But we, from the original revised ordinance, which we quickly approved and shoved to City Council, which I think spent 0 minutes and 0 seconds. And before agreeing on that, we do have a draft land bank ordinance, which is comes to council later this summer. And planning commission, it looks like as the code has been designed to very much broaden by rights and by administrative action, various options of development. The planning commission seems to be confronting it also sets as an interest card, so we've been. It seems like that's being pushed forward as, another place where folks can sort of express their opinions on these things. And that's sort of an interesting experience for me personally. I mean, considering my usual sartorial elegance, do you really want me making aesthetics decisions about what building should look like entering Charlottesville? But apparently that's part of my job, so be it. There may be other things, but Councilor Payne, if you want to sort of pick it up, and I'll just stand in the back and instead of backup stand like a local make us. China is necessary.
We had an update on transportation projects recently. VDOT has been angry with the city for a while, to reach the point where VDOT was threatening to spend money to Charlottesville because we were so behind on projects. But we got an update, and staff are finally, I think, kind of streamlining and systemizing how we handle smart scale projects, sidewalk infrastructure. For years, we've been doing all the project management in-house, not relying on VDOT for project management. What was an issue? We have sidewalk projects from 2016 that have been fully funded that were stuck in the right-of-way acquisition phase from 2016, just for a sense of scale of how dysfunctional things were. But it was a very good update, and real progress is being made. So I think there's going to be a major improvement in how the city is able to actually implement transportation projects. We took a field trip along with Supervisor Dan Keel from Albemarle County to Champaign-Urbana to tour their transit system, which is using hydrogen fuel for some of their buses. It's very interesting. They have an 8-acre solar array that powers the electrolysis on site at their transit agency to make hydrogen fuel. And it's worked for them. They fueled 12 buses with it. They haven't had any problems with maintenance or reliability for the vehicle. So I came in skeptical about, is this a real technology? But it was interesting. And I think both the city and county are going to be, or the city, seriously exploring hydrogen as part of the future of CAT. We have been discussing both battery electric buses and hydrogen buses as way to get zero emissions in the bus system. And what? Illinois. Yeah, Illinois. And it's a college town, and population and geographically, it's fairly comparable to if you combine the urban ring of Albemarle, Charlottesville, and VA all together. And I think the other big thing is just the land bank is chugging along, I guess, to try to facilitate, to make it easier to acquire land to build affordable housing in the region. And I expect at some point, hopefully in the summer, City Council will be presented and vote on that. But I think those are the Yeah, those are the major things.
Supervisor Pruitt?
We are also, I would say, in a year season of our schedule. There's not been that much huge stuff. At our most recent meeting, we had I alluded to this earlier, but we were voting on a specific disbursement of our housing investment fund, which we don't need to get into the details of, because I don't think that elucidating something that did come up is something that I think several supervisors have been continuing to draw attention to, and it got quite a lot of airtime, which is how we really want to transition our housing investment fund into a model where we're issuing annual bills instead of just basically deciding on any individual thing that comes before us. I personally think that that's a much preferable way to do it through an annual open process. I also think it doesn't make sense for you to have it operating at a slightly larger scale of things. I know that can sustain 2 projects and you might be messy. So that was something interesting. We spent a significant portion of our meeting prior to that, kind of bogged into the mire of our own creation, talking about the appropriate trail use for the Ragged Mountain Reservoir natural area, which I don't think would be that much interest to the rest of this commission, although it's interesting to our constituents. Because boy, howdy, we all got a lot of things about it. I would say something that has not been on our agenda, but something that I've been digging into. We have a cell tower ordinance, trying to amend our existing cell tower ordinance in order to make it so that we're actually covering a slightly larger area. The most significant change it's going to make is it's going to increase the height that things are allowed to be above the tree line from 10 to 30 feet, which would make it so that it's a better way of propagation, and also that the trees have more than 2 years to grow before they completely include the emitter again. That's all well and good. That's a proposed language. It's going to eventually come before the board for approval. But something that I've really been digging into it is the fact that there is still several types of avoidance areas that it classifies. Other things that you don't want to put a cell tower near, things like schools, right? And one of the avoidance areas is designated historic districts. All of the Scottsville Magisterial District is a nationally designated historic district. Which then made me want to talk with staff to say, hey, what else does being in a national historic district do according to it? Where else are we triggering different things? Where is that impacting the process? Where is it impacting the kind of when the rhythms of people? What is the process by which things got made as a national historic district, and how is the county involved with that? A lot of different things, and I think it kind of drew attention to. We decided to put something on as a historical district. That's exciting. It's point of pride. It's not always immediately clear what all that entails and how we might be creating them in the consequences. Because currently, unless we change the text of this fall before it gets before us, we're never building a cell tower in the bottom quarter of the country. That's all I got.
Just because roundabouts were the theme on Rio Road, where Hillsdale meets Rio Road, there's 2 lights right next to each other. It's one of the most dangerous intersections in the whole Commonwealth. So our smart scale application is actually it was proposed out of our Rio Road corridor study to put a dual roundabout to handle both those lights, and it would look, if you're looking from above, it would be the shape of a peanut. So it would be kind of the first one of those. I think and the other roundabout, which isn't through a smart scale application, but it would be under VDOT safety improvement program, is at Hillsdale and Greenbrier down where Via is, where there was supposed to be a light put in there and the light wasn't put in. But they're going to do what's called a modular roundabout. Is the proposal. There's only a couple of these in the state, but basically it's built out a little bit more with raised kind of plastic on them. So the issue there is you have to go a good 2 car lengths past the stop sign to be able to see. We've got people going through this big yellow striped area to pass other people, and it's just a damn mess. So this roundabout could really go to alleviate. I appreciate VDOT because they actually went out and asked, they said, why don't you just go out there sometime and sit there for a few hours, watch this craziness happen. And they did, and so they tried a lot of things at that intersection, so hopefully this modular roundabout will work. Our board had a retreat last week. We spent a half a day, basically to revisit our operating guidelines, which drives how we work with each other, how we work with staff, et cetera. So that was always good, especially when we have new members, and our current chair, Mr. Andrews, had not been through a retreat with us yet either. So that was good, time well spent. And then the only other thing I throw out there is yesterday we got a first look at what will be our first new school building that we've done in a long time in the southern feeder pattern. It practically touches the property of Mountain View Elementary School. And what this is going to allow to do is, it's a big overcrowded area, will be in Albemarle the first time that we have a lower and upper elementary school. So once that school building is built, Mountain View would become a pre-K2, and then the new building would become a 3 to 5. We don't have any breakouts like that, so this would be the first time that we do that.
If I may, question about the trip to Champaign or Fluvanna. Is there any talk about using that model for your school buses?
I think not like a specific discussion, but it's possible. In Champaign-Urbana, they're unlike us. Their bus system runs all the school buses, the university bus system as well. But I think for their school buses, they still use diesel electric hybrids for their school buses. But I mean, if you have the hydrogen facility on site, all you need to do is purchase a vehicle and you can start running the hydrogen school buses. But there's been no specific discussion about that.
Then if I may pretend to be Keith Smith for a minute, since I forgot to mention that the TJPDC was out there yesterday presenting on the housing, it's probably where to put it, housing study that they're asking counties to go ahead, and we also had Kim Loudon from Fluvanna, Louisa Housing Foundation speak as well too. They've done a lot of great work in our county, and I know they would work very closely with the TJPDC as well. So I just want to make sure that we recognize the TJPDC for their hard work in our.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
I'm wondering why Greene County is giving a marijuana. And Louisa County got this.
It's easy, it's greener there.
Yeah, don't try to do the same thing with the lettuce.
We haven't heard anything back on the, other than signing the letter of intent for them to apply for their business license for it, so that's. I mean, it may be a no-go, but you did sign a letter of intent for them to be able to apply for the business. So that's, yeah, that's fine.
Well, just a reminder that there is no July meeting, so I wish you all a happy summer. We'll see you all back here in August. If there's an objection, would like to make a motion to adjourn. Right. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all. You have a good evening.